Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 16th episode of Vitals and Voices. I'm Lathika, and I'm the founder and host.
And I'm Kanda, and I'm the co-host, and we serve on the executive team of Vitals and Voices.
Vitals and Voices highlights the often overlooked human side of healthcare, sharing the real stories of professionals to inspire and guide the next generation of medical leaders and students.
Please welcome our guest, Hannah.
Hello.
Hannah, thank you so much for being here with us. To start, could you give us a brief introduction about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from the suburbs of Philadelphia, and I went to Simmons University for my undergraduate degree in Boston, Massachusetts, where I completed my Bachelor of Science in biology. And I went straight through to veterinary school. I didn't take any gap years, and I went to University College Dublin in Ireland. And I just graduated this past June, and I'm currently completing my equine internship at Abington Equine Hospital in Pennsylvania.
That's so amazing. So you grew up surrounded by animals and eventually found your path into veterinary medicine. What inspired you to pursue this field, and how did your path lead you to equine medicine specifically?
So I grew up going to my grandfather's farm every summer. He had a dairy farm in Pennsylvania with some horses, and my family and we had cats, dogs, rabbits, all the animals. So I always grew up really cherishing that human-animal bond. And then in high school, when I was trying to decide what I wanted to do with my career, I knew that I loved working with animals and being around animals, and I really enjoyed learning about anatomy and physiology and kind of how understanding how everything worked. So veterinary medicine kind of seemed like the perfect fit for that. Um, and then originally, I thought that I would go into small animal medicine. I have a cousin that's a small animal medicine or a small animal veterinarian, and I shadowed her. And that's where I got most of my experience in my undergraduate degree leading up to veterinary school. But going into veterinary school, I was really open to all the different options I had for going into postgrad. And my school required us to get a lot of experience with each different species. So I had my first experience at an equine hospital in my first year, actually at Abington, where I work now. And I found really great mentorship there, and I really enjoyed the work. And so that kind of like peaked it as an option for me. And I kind of just decided to go, I ultimately decided to go into equine medicine due to that mentorship that I found. And I ended up really enjoying the equine work, even like throughout veterinary school and going into rotation. So that's ultimately why I chose to go into equine medicine.
That's wonderful. I love that. So you've mentioned how much you love your work even on tough days. What motivates you to keep going, especially during those challenging situations?
Yeah, so I do think first and foremost you should love what you do. If you don't, it definitely makes those hard days even harder. One thing that motivates me, especially as a veterinarian, is we're really the voice for our patients since they can't talk to us. So we have to figure out what they're trying to say, what's going on with them, and be their advocate, try to explain what's going on to the owner, and come up with a treatment plan for them. So that definitely motivates me in good and bad situations. Um, and I think another really important thing is having a really strong support system, both in your working environment and also outside of work. Having a team that you know is going to support you and be understanding is really important. And no, it definitely makes you feel like you're not alone, that you have support. And then if you need someone to talk to outside of work about, a bad day or something, it's definitely really important. And I think it's even important to have that in place before going into veterinary school, definitely.
That's amazing. So I know we didn't touch base on it, but one of the topics that you're passionate about is One Health. Can you explain what that means and why it is such an important issue in today's world?
Yeah, definitely. So One Health is basically this concept that recognizes how human health, animal health, and the health of the environment are all interconnected, and it recognizes that they all influence and impact each other. And this is really important in today's world, especially in regards to climate change. Climate change can really affect the distribution of diseases for both humans and animals. And it's an important concept as well in regards to zoonotic diseases, so diseases that can spread between humans and animals, antimicrobial resistance, since that can affect for both humans and animals, and as well as just like food and water safety and like global health security. So it's really important that veterinary professionals, human health professionals, and environmental like science experts all communicate and work together for this ultimate goal of One Health.
That's amazing. Um, so outside of your veterinary journey, you've also taken on personal challenges like running your first half marathon. Can you share what that accomplishment meant to you?
Yeah, so I started running in vet school mostly as like a stress reliever and because my friends ran, so we'd go on runs together. But it definitely quickly escalated to just signing up for some fun 5Ks to doing a half marathon. I've ran two half marathons now. I did my first last April or June or April of last year. I did the Prague half marathon, and then this past March I did the inaugural Dublin City half marathon. So it's really fun, honestly, and I think it's a really nice way, even just to prove to myself that I can do hard things, even when you feel like you can't. So it's a nice way to push myself and get my body moving, but it's also just fun, and race day vibes are always the best. So
I love that. And especially with like stressful years of like veterinary school or even medical school, a good stress reliever is definitely
yeah.
needed. And it seems like you found great joy in that. So, looking ahead, what are some goals that you would like to continue your career in equity medicine?
So I think for me, since I'm still in my internship year, my biggest goal right now is just to gain experience, especially with strong mentorship. So that way I can become more confident in the field and being on my own. So that's probably my biggest goal right now. And then for long term, I'm not decided on whether I want to do like residency or not. I really enjoy internal medicine, but I'm not set on a residency. To specialize, but I really enjoy teaching. So finding ways to kind of get involved in that, I would love to do as well. But other than that, we'll kind of see what happens.
I love that. So how do you balance the emotional weight of tough cases with maintaining your own well-being?
I think for me, it kind of relates back to what I was saying about having that strong support system. I definitely find it helpful to talk to friends from vet school because they understand what you're going through, especially because they're kind of typically in the same place that you are at. So, like right now, talking to my friends that are also doing internships that also sometimes feel like they don't know what they're doing or just don't have a lot of confidence or are also having a tough time. It can be really helpful and relatable. And also, the mentorship that I do have, like the doctors that I work with, have a lot more years of experience. So it's really helpful because they have stories of times that they had similar cases or did similar mistakes or something like that. So it makes you feel like, okay, like this happens to everyone, it's not unique, and it makes you feel better about the situation. Um, yeah, I think that's mostly it. And then also, I will always give a shout out to therapy. Therapy is amazing, and everyone should have someone to talk to. So yeah, those are probably my big three for getting through tough cases.
That's amazing. So, how does caring for animals who cannot speak for themselves impact the way that you think about empathy, patience, or even your own mental health?
Well, that's a good question. I think. Ooh, cat leaving. Okay. Um, so actually, could you repeat the question one more time? Sorry.
So sorry. How does caring for animals who cannot speak for themselves impact the way that you think about empathy, patience, or even your own mental health?
I think it definitely is a practice in patience, especially in like hard cases where you might not know what's happening and you might be limited in like the diagnostics you can do, or you have to wait to see a response to treatment and stuff like that. And I think you just gain more and more empathy with more experience, especially like seeing some of the things that these animals have to go through, and then like the lengths that their owners will go so these horses can get their treatment or get any procedures done. So I think I only get more and more empathy as the year or as the time goes by. Yeah, I think that's mainly it.
It's amazing. So if you could share one message about the unseen struggles of being a vet, something students and the public often overlook, what would it be and why?
Ooh, another good question. I feel like sometimes like we might also not know all the answers. So it is hard because, the patient can't talk. We kind of have to be their voice, but we don't always have all the answers, and we're always trying our best to see everyone and to make time for everyone and to get the best treatment possible. So I do think that that can kind of be overlooked, that we care like so much for the patients that we do have. And so I hope that people recognize that more often.
I hope that they get to recognize that as well. So, when people usually think of doctors or nurses when they hear healthcare, but it's not always veterinarians. So, how do you see veterinarians fitting into the bigger picture of healthcare conversations?
I think that relates back kind of to One Health almost, where, yeah, I don't think that when people hear about healthcare, just like that term, I don't think that their initial thought is going towards veterinary. But it is important to recognize that veterinary professionals are in the realm of healthcare, and we are healthcare professionals, and the work that we do can impact the health of humans, and vice versa. So I think that's an important way that we can fit into that.
So can you share a story where you really saw the deep bond between humans and animals play out in your work?
Yeah, sure. So let me think. I would probably say it's during some hard cases when it's kind of like making that decision that's the best for the animal, which could be like humane euthanasia. I think that that brings out a very emotional side for the owner, and it can be very difficult. It's a very difficult situation, and but seeing that, it makes us emotional as well, especially if it's a patient that you've been seeing. Um, and you really see that human animal bond, because those horses that we're dealing with, a lot of times they are like another member of the family. So having to make a decision to put them down, or for their health and for their welfare, it can be it it's really special to see the bonds that people have with their horses, but it's also a very sad moment as well. Yeah.
I know it can be a hard time between the two, and I know how much of a toll that can take on your personal health if you face a hard day at the clinic. So, how do you personally take care of your mental health after a demanding day in the clinic?
Typically by trying to de-stress. I love hanging out with my cats. I like watching some Netflix to kind of turn off my brain. I think a hot shower and a hot cup of tea can fix a lot of things. And if I need to, like I'll usually talk to like a friend or a family member or something like that as well. Um, just to see how someone else is doing in ways.
Really quick, how many cats do you have?
I have two.
That's so cute. I love cats.
And really, what advice would you give to students or young people who are considering veterinary medicine as a career?
I would probably say my biggest piece of advice would be to get like a wide spread of experience if you're thinking about going into veterinary medicine as a career. And start as early as possible, really. Get some experience with small animals, get experience with exotics, farm animals, horses. I think that that can only help you make a more informed decision on whether veterinary medicine is for you. It is a big decision, it's a big commitment. A lot of money for school, a lot of years of school, very difficult and can be taxing on your mental health. So it's definitely a big decision, can involve travel. You don't know where you're going to go to for school. So it's definitely a big decision. And if you're involved and if you're interested in healthcare, but you might not know what aspect of healthcare you want to go into, it could be a good way to be like whether you want to work with animals or humans or something else entirely. So yeah, definitely getting as much experience as possible would be my biggest piece of advice.
Well, thank you so much for that advice. And Hannah, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow, share, and stay tuned for more inspiring conversations. We'll see you next time on Vitals and Voices.